Today, we're going to dive into a really personal story about addiction, about loss, but also about the incredible hope that can come out of a tragedy. This is all from the book For the Love of a Son, which is a father's story about his child's life. We're going to start with this quote from sports broadcaster Scott Oake, talking about his son Bruce. I mean, what a gut-wrenching thing to say, right? It's this total paradox that just perfectly captures the complicated heart of this story. You've got this profound sadness, but it's all tangled up with this immense pride. So, what is this place he's talking about? Well, it has to do with this number, 50 plus. This isn't just a random number. It represents the number of custom Winnipeg Jets jerseys hanging up in the Bruce Oake Recovery Center. And each one has the number 1 on the back, to celebrate a graduate who's made it 1 full year sober. It's just this incredibly powerful symbol of a life being reclaimed. And this is that place. It's a modern, 43,000 square foot facility in Winnipeg, and it's just flooded with natural light. The whole thing was designed to be a place where people would actually want to be, a place to heal. It's a real beacon of hope that was born from a family's absolute darkest moment. But to really get what this recovery center means, you have to understand the young man it's named for. And to do that, well, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning. So where did this all start? Bruce Oake was born back in 1985. And for the first couple of years, his parents said he was a total dream baby. Super calm, always content, slept for 12 hours straight every night. But as he grew into a toddler, things began to change. A lot. And this just perfectly shows the puzzle his parents were dealing with. Bruce's younger brother, Darcy, was his polar opposite. Darcy was easygoing, Bruce was defiant. Darcy was calm, Bruce was always on edge, and he was prone to these really intense meltdowns. I mean, they were raised the exact same way, but their personalities couldn't have been more different. After years of trying to figure out Bruce's behavior, a clinical psychologist finally put a name to it: attention deficit disorder, or ADD. And for his parents, seeing this list of common traits was like a light bulb going off. Bruce had almost every single one. It was a huge relief to finally have an answer, but it was also just the start of a really long road. And then, pretty soon after that, came a second diagnosis: Tourette syndrome. This explained all the physical tics that Bruce was constantly trying to control, things like shaking his head or curling his toes into fists inside his shoes. He was fighting these internal battles every single day. But, even with all of these struggles, his parents could see his incredible potential. They truly believed their smart, handsome, determined son could do anything he set his mind to. The problem was that potential was always at war with the chaos going on inside him. And as Bruce hit his teenage years, that internal war started to spill out into the open. He was searching for an identity, for some way to channel all that intense energy, and it led him down a really dangerous path. You can see the progression so clearly here. At 15, he gets into boxing, which kind of feeds this tough guy persona. Then in high school, that identity gets shaped by the gang culture he heard about in the rap music he loved. And then, after he graduates, that fantasy becomes all too real when he starts delivering drugs for a gang. See, for Bruce, rap wasn't just music. It was a complete escape from his comfortable suburban life. It felt forbidden, and because of that, it felt more authentic to him. He started off writing lyrics about that life, but pretty soon he started trying to actually live it. His behavior went way past typical teenage rebellion and into seriously dangerous territory. It started with things like shoplifting and smoking weed, sure. But then it ramped up to making and passing fake bills, a secret he somehow managed to keep from his parents at the time. And that dangerous path was leading to one place, an absolutely terrifying breaking point. By this time, Bruce was letting a gang member use his home as a stash house for their drugs. He was in way, way over his head. And then, the life he'd been idolizing turned on him. The gang accused him of stealing from their stash. An enforcer showed up and beat him so badly with a club that the bones in his hand literally shattered as he put it up to protect his head. Then, they made him sign over his car to cover a completely made-up debt of $25 grand. This was the brutal wake-up call. Right after the attack, in a terrified phone call to his mom, Bruce said this. It was a desperate attempt to downplay how bad things were, but it was also the closest he had ever come to admitting he had a problem. For his parents, it was a confession. The denial was finally over. The family's reaction was instant. This wasn't the time for punishment, or even for questions. It was a 5-alarm fire. The only thing that mattered was getting Bruce help and getting it right now. So at the hospital, they had this stark choice in front of them. The public system was free, but it had a 4 to 6 week wait list. The private system, that was $20,000, but they could take him immediately. For a family in that much crisis, with their son's life hanging in the balance, time was the one thing they just didn't have. So they made the choice. The second Bruce was out of a local detox ward, his father put him on a plane. This airlift to a treatment center in Toronto, it wasn't just a flight. It was this massive, all-in move that said, we will do anything to save our son's life. And that first step, that desperate flight from Winnipeg to Toronto, that's what brings this whole story full circle. It was the start of a long, incredibly difficult journey that would one day lead his parents to build the Bruce Oake Recovery Center, turning their own personal pain into a place of healing for so many other people. And it really leaves you with this question. Bruce's story, it shows the devastating spiral of addiction, for sure. But it also shows this incredible power of love and resilience. It makes you ask, how can we turn our own greatest losses into a force for good in the world?